Okay, I think we're live. Welcome everybody to the CNC with Dave Gatton show. I'm your host, Dave Gatton, and I've got my buddy Javi joining me tonight.
Evening all.
Thank you, Javi, for coming along. Thank you all very much. I know that there's like 40-something people or so watching already that we're waiting. Thank you all for the thumbs up. It's much appreciated. I only got more thumbs up than thumbs down, so I appreciate that. Anyway, Happy New Year. This is my first show of the 2019, so I hope everybody had a Happy New Year. I got a couple of things I want to talk about before we get started talking about the show topic. And that is, I mentioned the last show, which was the last show of the year, the 29th of December or whatever, about Michael Murray's daughter, McKenna. She's battling cancer, and she's going in for some surgery. It's tomorrow morning, right, Javi?
Yes, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Okay, so she's got some surgery. It's probably going to be several hours, if not all day. And so keep her in your thoughts and prayers. And there's a GoFundMe going on. Javi just posted the link over there in the chat. It's also listed below in the show notes. So if you're watching this after the fact and you're not watching it live, there's a link to the GoFundMe page down there in the bottom of the show notes.
Yep.
So help them out if you can, because you know how
serious operation. She's a very, very young girl, and they're hooking up her heart to a lung bypass machine, possibly removing the right kidney along with a tumor in the vena cava. I mean, the total surgery could take anywhere between 4 to 8 hours or more. Many wires, tubes. It's truly heartbreaking. So
yeah, and that kind of thing's be hard for anybody to go through. But now you're talking about a little kid, so
yeah.
I think isn't she like 2 or something?
I think she was 2 or 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, y'all do what you can and keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Another thing, and I saw him out there in the chat. I don't see him right now. I must have scrolled on up. But I want to give a super big shout out to Dwight Bennett from up around Indy. You guys may not know who Dwight Bennett is, but he sent me a while back. He sent me a couple of, I think they're right back here and all this junk. But he sent me a couple of Indiana license plates for making those cigar box type guitar license plate resonator things. Oh. And I got an email from him the other day, and he says, "Hey, I'm cleaning a garage. I found a few more license plates. I'm going to send them to you." So he's sent them to me. I got them last Thursday, and man, I about died when I opened that box because there was like a huge stack of license plates, and I'm thinking, man, he said a few. Man, there's a whole bunch of them here, and I counted them. There was like 33. Wow. So thank you very much, Dwight Bennett, for sending me those. I'm already working. In fact, it's weird that you messaged me and said you were going to send me some more, because I was working on a license plate guitar. I'll maybe try to finish up the next day or two. And I'm doing a video on it, so it'll be coming out whenever I can get it done. But yeah, thank you so much for those license plates. I love them. Doesn't matter whether rusty or pristine or whatever. It's they're cool. So thank you very much. And they're from around my old stomping grounds, because I'm originally from Indiana.
Here's a question, Dave. If people have old license plates out there from different states, are you just interested in Indiana, or will any state do?
No, any state. If anybody's got some old license plates laying around their garage and they want to get rid of them, send them to me. Be happy to take them off your hands. I already had quite a few from different cars I've bought over the years. I've got quite a few Georgia plates. I've got a few North Carolina plates. I've got some Ohio plates. I guess that's pretty much it. But yeah, if anybody's got one from any state, let me know. I'd be glad to take them off your hand. Clemson license plate? I don't know about that one, Rick. Not too sure. That one might end up in the fire pit or something. All right. Oh, I see Awesome Wood Things, Mr. Matt Haas out there, which made me think of something. Everybody should have, well, probably has for a long time, already got their prize from the Gatton CNC Christmas Challenge, except for Mr. Matt Haas. And I apologize, Matt. The prize that you selected, which was the Mach 3 pendant, wasn't available through Prime. And apparently it's on the slow boat from China, is all I can figure, because I don't think it's even shipped yet. But it is bought, paid for, and on the way. So I don't want you to think you were left out. But everybody else that got the router bits and the what else do we have? The route. I know Mike, I think, told me he got the Rockler clamp, hold down clamps. I know Rob Schuster got the Raspberry Pi thing. He's already got that. So I think everybody's got everything, because most of that stuff I got, if I didn't have it to ship myself, I got it off of Amazon and sent it. And so I get notifications that it's been delivered and stuff. So everybody should have everything except for Matt. And I apologize, Matt. If I should have went ahead and bought one of them weeks before, and then I would have had it here and I could have just shipped it myself. But I really didn't think it'd be that big a deal buying one and getting it drop shipped like that. But the only one they had that I could buy wasn't Amazon Prime. So anyway, okay. One other thing I want to talk about before we get started here. And by the way, folks, if y'all got any questions about starting up your Gatton CNC and whatever, be getting those ready because we'll be taking questions. I'm kind of prepared, I think, to answer some questions or do screenshots and screen shares and stuff to help answer the questions. So, okay. But another thing I wanted to mention, and I've mentioned this before on this show, but I want to mention it again. If you guys that use Vectric stuff, particularly VCarve Pro, VCarve Desktop, or Aspire, if you are not watching Laney Shaughnessy's live stream, it's on a YouTube channel called Spindle TV, you are missing out. That is one of the best Vectric lessons you'll get because he's live. You can ask questions. They run a little long. He usually runs about 2 hours. So, get yourself a cup of coffee and get your laptop ready or whatever. But he does some just really cool stuff. He did some stuff this past week. And another thing I'll tell you, I think he's usually on Mondays. Sometimes it's Tuesdays. I think, Laney does the woodworking show circuit. He's always in the booth for Digital Wood Carver at all the woodworking shows. So, so I think these lessons that he does, and like I said, it's on Spindle TV. There's a link in the show notes if you want to go subscribe to it and hit the little bell so you get the notifications that way, whether it's Monday or Tuesday or whatever. You know, you won't miss it. But he did some stuff this past week. I had no clue that you could even do it. I hadn't even thought of it. I mean, because I don't do with a lot of. Hey, Barbara, how you doing? I don't deal with a lot of 3D stuff, but he showed how you take different 3D, you know, whether it's one you bought or ones that come with the VCar Pro, how you can bring them in and then you can do this mirror thing. And I mean, it was just amazing because he'd make a brand new model using different models. He'd combine them and he'd merge them, and I had no clue you could even do that stuff. And I was just, the whole 2 hours, I was just like, wow, you know. Yep. But you know, a lot of times it's stuff much more simpler than that. But like I said, I don't want you to think because Laney is the digital wood carver guy that he's over there talking about digital wood carvers and you don't have one. But because he's not, he's talking about Vectric, Aspire, VCar Pro, VCar Desktop, and showing you tricks and things you can do. And it is a great live stream. It really is. I'm gonna have Laney back on sometime and show some of that stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, the man is absolutely incredible.
Matt,
he does. I'm about to put a link on the chat. It's in the show notes, by the way, Matt.
Yeah, it's called Spindle TV.
And here it is.
With no space. Spindle TV. But yeah, it's Laney's just an all-around good guy anyway. Yeah. But if you're, you know, he's one of the reasons why I still go to wood shows, because that's the only time I get to see him, because he's always at the wood shows. But usually I don't get a chance to talk to him when he's there because he's so busy. But anywho, check that out. All right, I think we've covered it. Javi, you got anything before I get wound up talking about this other stuff?
No, I'll go ahead and plug my my weekly CNC with Javi show. If any beginners or I don't like to get into the heavy duty stuff like Laney. Sometimes I mostly go for the simpler stuff because just for the sake of the masses, because the more complicated stuff, there's far less people that can absorb it that quickly. But yeah, on my channel every Friday I have when I'm in town every Friday, so 3-4 times a month, learn CNC with Javi, and other than that, we're all good to go. Looking forward to the wood show.
Okay, yeah, I guess we should take a minute to talk about that. I see some folks over there talking. Larry Duggar, I expect I'll see him at the wood show. Wood show's coming up March 15th, 16th, and 17th.
It is. Yep. It is.
And that's the Atlanta. Well, it's the woodworking show, but it's the one that's in Atlanta.
Yes. It's going to be March 15th, 16th, 17th. Correct. I mean, I'll be there. I'll be there early. I'll be there. Well, I'll be there the first 2 days. No offense to the show, but I've given up on Sundays.
Dwight, it's the same wood show that travels to Indy, but it makes a circuit. It's got it goes to one town, and the next weekend it's at another one.
This is the Atlanta show, by the way. Atlanta, Georgia.
We're the 15th, 16th, 17th. We're talking is the Atlanta, be up at the Cobb Galleria. And it should be a good time. I'll be there probably at least one day. I don't know if I'll go. I usually go Friday and Saturday and then don't go Sunday, because Sunday they're kind of winding down, and I think they close up early to get ready to move on to the next town or whatever. So I usually don't.
Yeah, I'll probably go Friday, Saturday, and I'll I'll crash your home and pay a visit on you Saturday night.
Okay, good. I'll have the broom out.
There you go.
Bring old clothes.
I'm ready. I'm ready to clean up the sawdust. No problem. That is, by the way, for those of you new to the show, that is a requirement. If you ever visit Dave, he's always willing to show you one of his Gatton CNCs that you can purchase and build yourself, and for very inexpensively, I might add. And the only cost of going over there is, well, you know, make sure you wear jeans and sweep up the sawdust.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. We are going to talk about some startup stuff. And when I say startup, it's like when you get your build done and you're ready to power it up for the first time, and you're hoping you don't see that magic smoke come out of the control box and stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So if anybody's got any questions about something that, you know, about getting going in this, put them over there in the chat, and Javi will keep track of them. But I wanted to kind of, you know, I've been, you know, a lot of these show topics that I do is kind of based on stuff I see on Facebook in the Facebook groups. When I see people talking about this or that, and I'm like, well, it looks like I need to cover that again, you know. And this is something I probably talked about. I was telling Javi earlier, I probably talked about it half a dozen or so times, but there's always new people that the problem with doing these live shows, and even if I do a short video showing how to do something, the problem with that is after a while it gets pushed way on down the list and people don't scroll down in there. So if you don't have a link for them or something, they don't know how to find that information. So tonight I want to talk about actually a couple of videos that I did back in August. But I think maybe, like I said, they, you know, when they're that old, we've done a bunch of videos and shows since then, so they're not available. I have links to them down below in the show notes again. And there's also, they're on the davegatton.com, you know, which is the website where you get the, well, let me just do a screen share right quick and show you. I think I've got it here. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Javi, can you see my screen?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, this is the davegatton.com website. This is where everybody comes to find out about the Gatton CNC stuff. And I have over here where it says building a Gatton CNC, I have all the build videos. I think there's 11 of them. And these are the two videos down here that I'm talking about, because I think a lot of people, maybe they're not scrolling this far down, because I didn't just put those on there. They've been there. But I've also got a thing for the Mach 3 settings. I see a lot of people getting confused about the Mach 3 settings. So I've added screenshots. I mean, I say I've added, they've been here. All you got to do is hit this button and you got screenshots showing you how to set up all the settings. And basically what, let's see if I can, yeah, I guess I need to do this. Whoops. I knew I would do that. Well, all right, we'll try it again. All right, let me get back here. All right, you can see that, Javi?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I just want to make sure I didn't wipe myself completely off. But anyway, over here, you can go to these screenshots, but these two videos down here in particular, these first 11, you know, people watch those and follow along with the plans and know how to build their, you know, show step by step how to do everything. And these two videos down here are for when you're getting ready to fire it up. And they show you how to create a machine profile, which everybody should do. You know, it's kind of the same thing as these screenshots here, because I go through every little setting, show you what you need to set, why you're setting it like that, that kind of thing. And then this second one over here is, I really just kind of split these up because it was going to be too long. I think this one's about 19 minutes, and I think this one's about 13 minutes. But on this one, I'm showing you how, once you've got all your settings in and you've got your machine moving the right direction, how you can create a simple test part to run and, you know, check with calipers and just see if you're in the ballpark or where you're at with your machine before you take off and start running projects. So I just wanted to point out where those are and encourage folks that are, you know, about to finish your build and, you know, want to make sure you've got everything wired right and stuff.
Check a lot of that stuff you talk about, not in so much detail, but a lot of that you talk about in 10 and 10.5.
Yeah, I do. And then I think after a while, I still saw people having some problems. So that's what prompted me to come up and do 2 more videos. You know, every time I do these videos, I'm trying to do them in response to somebody saying they're having problems doing this or that, you know, something that I see usually in that Facebook group or whatever. Let's see if I'm out of here now. There we go. But anyway, like I said, I feel bad sometimes because when I see somebody post a comment and I can tell they're lost, you know, on Facebook or something, and I post something in the group, and I'm like, man, it's so frustrating for me because I have done, you know, this is a ton of work, folks. You know, I've been doing this for a long time. I've got all kinds of videos. I've put screenshots. I've got, you know, I try to put all this information where you can get to it. And then when I see somebody having problems, I'm like, oh, I guess I need to bring this up again and show where it at. This is, this right here is the little test part that's in that second video. I show you how to draw this up. I guess I should hold it this way. Show you how to draw this up. You can tell I've been using this one for a coaster. It's been sitting out there since August, and it sits on top of my little bench there, and that's where I put my bottled water or stuff, and it's been used for a coaster. But anyway, I show you how to make a simple test part like that, how it's handy. This one is like 4x4. It's got a 3/4 square right dead in the middle of it with radius on the corners. I've got a 3/8 hole down here. I've got that's a 1/2 inch hole down here, a 3/8 hole up here. And that's also that when you run it, you can tell that it's oriented right. Because if you run your part and it comes out like this, or, you know, where everything's wrong, you know, you don't have all your settings right in Mach 3 if you're getting a mirrored or a flipped part. So that's why you make a part that's got features so that you know that this 1/2 inch hole is supposed to be in the lower left corner. This 3/8 hole is supposed to be in the upper right hand corner. And then just a simple little part like this, you can get a ton of information from because since you make it small enough that you can use calipers. And that's what I like to do when I'm trying to calibrate my machines. I like to make the part small enough that I can use calipers, because if you're using a steel rule or a tape measure, you've got that human error factor by looking at it with your eye as opposed to something more accurate than this. So I like to use stuff that's small. For example, this, of course, I can't read it now. I don't have my glasses on. But this one is about 3/1000ths big. That way, And I mentioned, the reason I know this is because I mentioned this in that video. This is about 2,000 under, and that's just putting in the 6,400 steps, or the basic setup. That's not even tweaking anything, and I was that close with that build. And then of course you can use that to calibrate, and that's why I mark this so that you know which one is which. So like if I said I was 3 thousandths big here, you can go to calibrate that axis and say, I'm telling it to move 4 inches, but it moved 4 inches and 3 thousandths, and then it will automatically adjust your stuff and you can tweak it in. But just a simple little part like this will really help you get your machine dialed in, because you see how this part has a couple of squared corners, and then I put a radius around this end. So the squared corners are for if you got a little machinist square, you can check to make sure your corners are square. You can also check to, if you look at it like this, you can check, and if you got it like, I'm going to exaggerate, but if it's like that, you got some serious tramming issues going on. But by having this marked and you know which way it is, you can tell where you're off. The radius here is for if how big that radius is supposed to be, because however you drew it. But if it's real big, then maybe you need to adjust your constant velocity thing, that little angle setting.
Yeah, you can actually check whether it's symmetrical on both sides, because sometimes it'll be it won't be symmetrical, and that's another one.
Yeah, and because I put this hole in the middle, well, first of all, you can check to make sure, since I told it was a 3/4 square, and it's dead nuts 3/4, but because it's in the middle, you should also be able to tell whatever that measurement is, it should be exactly the same on all 4 sides. So just a simple little part like this will help you to dial in your machine.
And not only that, because the hole is in the middle, you also, if your hands are big enough, you've got a great fidget spinner there. Well,
you have a fidget spinner, maybe not a great fidget.
Not a great one.
Yeah, but anyway, and you'll notice too that I put tabs on here, and I cut it off, but I didn't bother sanding those because I didn't want to change the dimensions. I got them out of the way where I can get the calipers on them and everything. So that, just a simple little part, and you can get a lot of stuff dialed in. Let's see. I see. Awesome. I need that level of accuracy. Well, I could help you with that, Matt. That ain't a problem. All right. Let's see. Has anybody got any questions about anything I've talked about so far? Is it a Harbor Freight square or a Rockler square? This is probably neither. I don't know where I got this one. Probably Amazon somewhere.
Well, that depends. Is your CNC more accurate than the square or less accurate? Then you'll know if it's a Harbor Freight or a Rockler square.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had these squares a long time, and I know they're not Harbor Freight, and I know they're not Rockler, but I don't know where I got them. Probably, like I said, I buy everything pretty much off of Amazon. So, all right, no questions. We're good. We're done, Javi. Good night, everybody. One of the things that, let's see how we doing on time here. Yeah,
good. We got 25 to an hour left.
Yeah, one of the things that I think I'm going to try to talk about, not necessarily, well, we can talk about it a little bit tonight, I guess. I was really thinking we might get some questions because I was all set, man. I brought my UC100 in here, got it connected up, and got some other props, and nobody's asking any questions.
Well, we did have an earlier question from, give me a second. Had it here. Let me pull up the question, but the question was about Fusion 360. It was way back.
Buddy, poor fella, I don't know who that is, says he just got his CNC 6-axis wireless Mach 3 MPG pendant and really loving it so far. I know I love the one I have.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting one day. Joe Liddon was saying, if I go with Fusion 360, will it just be Mach 3 to set to go software-wise?
Well, I think the short answer is yes, but I don't know how good the post-processor stuff is in Fusion 360. So
yeah,
that would be something. If anybody else is out there using Fusion 360, put a comment in the chat. Do you use Fusion 360 just to draw or model, and then you bring that into VCarve or Aspire or something like that, or do you do it all in Fusion 360, use the post processor, and go from there? So,
and
if you
B. David Santiago Jr. says, let's see, Spindle or router? What? I have one, Dave. Spindle or router, I think.
Question, I guess. Spindle or router. That's a personal choice. I've seen people that use a small compact router, like what is it, DeWalt 611, I think. It's like one
the Bosch Colt.
Yeah, Bosch Colt, that kind of thing. And then there's other people that use a full size router, like a Porter Cable 690, 890 series, that kind of thing. Some people will even use the really big Porter Cable, the 7518, which is, I think it's like 3.25 horsepower or something. And then there's a lot of different spindles. You got the water cooled, you got the air cooled, you got the 2.2 is about 3 horsepower. The 1.5 kilowatt, I think, is
1.5, 2.2. Yeah. I guess one of the easiest responses to that question is how much can you afford? Because they're pretty linear when it comes to price per features. The lesser expensive stuff, like the handheld ones, or even if you go bottom of the line, Harbor Freight laminating router, will last you as long as they last. And then you've got the higher end water cooled spindles, which are 3 or 4 times as much, and in some cases, as some of the average routers, and they'll last you a lot longer.
Yeah. When I started doing the Gatton CNC kits, I had my Porter Cable 690. I got probably about 3 or 4 of those routers around my shop and garage. That's what I started using. And then I thought, well, maybe I need something a little bigger, because I started selling the heck out of those kits. So I went to the Porter Cable 7518, which is more of a production type router, but it's big, it's loud, it's heavy, it's noisy. And I really kind of blame, I don't think he's out there, I kind of blame Jerry Brown, or Jeremiah Brown as he is on Facebook. I kind of blame him for getting me thinking about spindles, because he bought a 1.5 kilowatt spindle for his Gatton CNC. And when I started looking at the picture, he was posting pictures of his setup and stuff, and I thought, wow, that's really cool. I wonder how much that's setting back. So I went looking, and then when I got to looking at it, I thought, well, the 2.2 kilowatt water cooled spindle that I bought at the time, I think it's come down in price now, but at the time it was around $450. But you got the spindle, you got the aluminum mount, you got a little bit of tubing. They didn't really give you enough because my machine was so big. The tubing, you got the little submersible pumps, kind of like an aquarium pump that pumps the water. You got a whole bunch of collets, most of which I'm not going to use because they're all a lot of metric stuff. I only really use the half and the quarter. I don't even use the 1/8, but all the rest of them are metric. But anyway, you get a lot of stuff for $450. So Peter Pasuelo says, "I'm blaming you for my." Yeah, well, I'm blaming Jerry Brown, Peter, because he's the one that kind of got me thinking about it. And you know, I haven't regretted it at all, though. I'm sure you haven't either, because they are much. And I know Hobby got one too.
I got one too. Not only that, here's my black bag of yes, folks. Hang on.
It sounds like collets.
It's collets.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, all the wonderful different size collets, and even the original thing here, because frankly, I use a muscle chuck. So
yeah, you got a muscle chuck for yours. See, I don't have a muscle chuck for my spindle. I still use the wrenches. But yeah, that's about it. It's just whoever asked that question. What was it, David? I think it's a personal preference thing. And one thing, you know, the spindles are quieter when they're running and not cutting.
Yeah.
When they start cutting,
they're the same.
There's not that much difference. The wood, you know, cutting wood makes the same amount of noise whether you're using a, you know, old full-time router or a spindle.
Here's a question I find a little confusing. Does the spindle plug in? Oh, does it plug in? Sorry, I read, does the spindle plug up? Does the spindle plug in just like a regular router or special wiring? It's a simple matter of it comes with a VFD, variable frequency device, which basically turns your 220 into three-phase power. So
yeah, and we might want to add, I see somebody says spindle runs three-phase. Not all of them do. You can get some that run on 110, although I wouldn't even bother buying one of them, I don't think. But yeah, VFD. And I posted a picture on on Facebook, and I tagged you, Hobby. So I don't know whether you saw it or not, but somebody was talking about you know, how important is it to have Mach 3 control the spindle and all that, and I was telling them about how you made me the wired remote, I call it.
Yeah,
and it's got that big magnet, so it stays right on the front of my machine, so I can
turn.
I
always share my opinion on that one. When it comes to turning it on and off, for me personally, I mean, I know for you it's different, but for me personally, I'd rather have the machine turn it on and off. Just before it starts, I have a relay. It turns on the pump, the water pump, and the spindle. Prior to the right at the beginning of the job, I save electricity. I don't have to worry about it. However, the speed itself, that's something personally I feel, and this is probably a popular opinion, you want to have instant control of that speed at all times. And as in the case of your control box, or even the dial on that comes built into the VFD, you can actually, if it's chattering, you could speed it up. If it's making a whining sound or cutting too fast, you can slow it down on the fly, and you don't have to stop your cut. So I think that's very useful to have off, not automated. I don't believe in automating the. I tried it; it was pointless.
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to mention something. I don't think I've ever mentioned this before, and I haven't heard anybody else mention it. But one thing I think about too is I'm a big fan of touchscreen monitors, and I have two of them out there, and one I run my Gatton on. And I always think about, and maybe I'm the only one that ever thinks this way, that I don't want to have my wrenches on that, loosening that collet on that spindle, and something bump, or maybe fly lands on that something freak happens hitting that touchscreen monitor, and all of a sudden that spindle takes off. So by having that separate remote with a switch, I know it's not going to do anything. So
That's true. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's just the way I think.
No, I agree with you. Safety is a big concern. I've thought about it more than once because
and the reason I say that is I've accidentally bumped that screen with my elbow or whatever, and things happen, and I'm like, I have to stop, and
yeah, it's
sometimes they're a little touchy.
It's a valid concern. I mean, on mine, I run an automatic tool profile because my machine, I have a touch plate set up to measure the tool in between tool changes. So I have one program for all the tools rather than a single program for each tool. But that being said, that means that the program is still running while it's going to X0, Y0 and waiting for me to change the bit. It's off, but the program is still running. At any moment, if I hit the enter key, I mean, well, the first thing it'll do is measure the bit, so it won't turn on, or it shouldn't turn on. But like you said, you hit the wrong button,
Yeah.
Take the finger off.
Let's see. Dwight had a question about Mach 3. I don't know that you can get it on a CD. Basically, you download it from you download. It's basically the demo is what you're downloading. It's only after you get the license file that you put that in the Mach 3 root directory and then restart it, and then that's how it becomes a full-blown version. So it's not that big. Mach 3 is not all that big a file. So I doubt if they're going to send you a CD, but you just download the version that you want off of their website.
Yeah.
Newfangled Solutions, I think it is.
Yeah.
That's the name of their website.
Yeah, something like that. And they'll send you a license. You send them money, they send you the license. Simple. And it's not expensive at all. Todd is asking if I was turning on and off the VFD every time when doing a tool change. No, I have the controller do it. The controller automatically, when it finishes a tool path, it'll stop the VFD and then go back. Now, one thing I do when I remember, and I should remember more often, one thing I do when I remember is I turn the dial to 0. So even if it turns on, it'll be at 0. It'll be at 0 revolutions. So it's almost as safe.
Yeah. And I caught myself one time changing the bit out, and I had thought I turned that switch off, and I didn't. It was still on, but I've gotten myself in a habit, like you said, of turning that knob all the way down, so it wouldn't have come on anyway.
Right.
But yeah, the VFD stays on,
or you're gonna scrape some wood.
But yeah, I just turned that switch on that wired remote, as I call it.
Yep.
For mine. Any other questions?
Let's see. We had a few earlier.
Yeah, Mark Lindsay says, and that is why I'm hesitant about a touchscreen monitor. I love a touchscreen monitor, Mark. I don't know. It's just, I like them. I don't know what else to say. It's more, having run real machines, in my older or younger days, that's, more like makes the controller seem like more like a real controller to have that, having to fool with a mouse. But yeah, I have gone to move something, and plus some of that stuff, the buttons, aren't real big, and if you hit the wrong spot, you've just done something you don't want to.
Yeah, Larry Duggar was asking if I had a link for the. I'll put it up here as soon as I can find it. A link for the muscle chuck for our 2.2 spindle. Our 2.2 spindle takes an ER20. Muscle chuck has 14 different sizes depending on your router, and 6A and 6B are for the ER20s. One is fine thread, one is coarse thread, and I always forget whether it's 6A or 6B. I'll look at it now and let you know at Muscle Chuck's website.
Yeah, Todd says just turn the speed to 0. I do that, but I also flip that switch, and the reason I do is because, like I said, that thing is like a remote, and it's Javi put a big old hard drive magnet on the back of it, so it stays on the front of my machine because it's a steel frame. Well, as I grab the shop vac hose, sometimes I have bumped that, and it will change. I've even done it while I'm running, and if I'm not careful and I forget, sometimes I forget and leave that sitting right there on that corner, and when I drag that hose across, I'll bump that knob, and it's real sensitive, and it'll either turn it up or down. So yeah, I turn the speed down to 0, but I also flip that switch off. But it's not the switch on the VFD. The VFD stays on. So, all right, we had a question. I saw it somewhere. Dave Clemens. Okay, let me start with Joe Liddens first. He says, can I use USB cables instead of parallel? Joe, let me answer Dave Clemens' question, and I think that may help you because I like I said, I've got the I got my UC 100 set up in here. Yes, we did, Patrick. If you get here on time, you know about that stuff. No, we posted the GoFundMe link and talked about Mackenzie, Mike's daughter. Okay, so Dave Clemens says, can you explain how the UC 100 works in conjunction with Mach 3, including any settings in Mach 3? And like I said, I can do that because I'm prepared. I got props. I got stuff. So we can do this. Let me screen share again.
Okay, I'm going to send the link to an Amazon that's unavailable, but what you're looking for is, and you can get it on the Muscle Chuck's website, Larry, is the 6B, which is for the coarse ER20 collet. That's the one that fits the 2200 watt spindle.
Yeah, and I saw somebody say they got. It's weird because they send you that spindle kit, and it doesn't come with wrenches, but it's a 22 and a 30 millimeter, I believe, is what you need if you're going to use wrenches, and I use wrenches. All right, I'm screen sharing here. Let me get. Okay, I think everybody should be able to see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, this is the Mach 3 screen. Basically, I probably need to close this out so you all can see when you start it up. Okay, I'm going to start this again. And let's see, who was that? Dave Clemens, I think. When this comes up, when you've got a UC 100 installed, it'll come up and it should recognize that you have it. And you see, now I'm not hooked up to a machine, but I've just got the USB cable connected to this. And right now, the green light is on my UC 100, which only means that it's getting power. It's getting the power from the USB connection. But it's saying, okay, your system's showing more than one control device. Please pick the one you want to use. So this is the one I want to use, the UC 100 CNC motion controller. So I would click OK. And now, as as soon as I clicked OK, now I've got the green and the blue light, which the blue light means it's communicating, which it would be if I had it connected to a machine. But, and the only really thing you have to do is on these ports and pins, if you're running just a parallel, like your old school, and running just the parallel cable all the way to the drive box, and you're not using a, you're not using any kind of motion controller, you would probably have it either here, and you can change this a little bit to try to improve it, but usually I found it runs pretty good right there at 25,000 hertz. But you'll notice when you're using the UC100, it runs at this speed, which is 100 kilohertz, I guess. So that's really the only setting you have to do to use this UC100. Of course, you do have to have your drivers put in, and you have to, let me come down here. Let's see. I'm trying to do all this without my glasses. Oh, I know, it's over here in operator, I think. No, that's not it. Where is it? Oh, here it is. I thought I was right the first time. Configure plugins. And right here, where it says UC100 CNC motion controller, it's got the version. You have to make sure that's enabled. But you pretty much know it's working right if you get the green and the blue light. So that and the 100 kilohertz setting is pretty much all you have to do. And it's real easy to install. There's a auto installer file that you can download, and it does all the work for you. You don't really have to do much anything.
Had another question from David. Mark Lindsay already answered it in the chat, but for those of you in the future listening to the cast, to the video cast, are NEMA 34 stepper motors too much for this kit? Short answer is yes. And you'll have to reconfigure your own mounts, because the mounts are for NEMA 23 and 24.
What was the question that I missed?
NEMA 34s.
Oh, 34s, yeah.
For the kit, yeah.
Yeah, that's overkill.
Yeah,
it really is. And like Bobby said, you'd have to make some kind of a adapter plate or something, because the holes, if you buy the kit, it's already set for 23s. So, all right, where am I at here? Am I still sharing?
You are.
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
All right, and so since you couldn't see when I was doing that other, this is what I'm talking about. Let's see, y'all can't see my screen now. So I'm going to close Mach 3 again. And you can see that blue light went out. The green light's there only because it's plugged into the USB. That just means you're getting power. Now, if I come back over here and open up the Mach 3, and it will ask me if I want to use the UC100. And when I say OK, now you'll see, whoops, I can hit the right button here. Yeah, the blue light came on. So it's ready to go. If I had a machine in here. All right, any other questions? How are we doing on time here?
Well, we're at 9 o'clock.
Okay, well, we started a little late, I guess.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I have a muscle check. I don't use it on my Gatton CNC, but I have one on the GarageWorks CNC that I have in my shop. And I don't use it that much, simply because I don't use that machine that much. In fact, right now I've got that machine set up with my JTech laser. Yeah,
I mean, that's a very good point. If you're going to be doing, like in Dave's case, he cuts out kits and other things. If most of the life of that particular CNC machine is using one single bit, there's no point in spending an extra 80 or 100 and change for the muscle chuck. Now, if you're like me, that you need a lot of fast bit changes, and I mean, I could change a bit in 5-10 seconds at the most, and tool changes happen real nicely, and that's it's worth the investment. Other than that, go for the $2,000 automatic tool changing router or spindle, and go to up to the luxury.
Yeah. I really don't mind the wrenches. I know some people don't like the wrenches because they say they bang their knuckles, and all I can say is if you're banging your knuckles, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, my biggest problem has been, and it's my own fault. It's not the fault, probably not the fault of the machine, but I tend to get run out, and then I tighten and I tighten, and the collets wear out for me with the pressure that I put in, and then I can't get them off because I tighten them so much because I'm afraid of run out. I've yet to have a single bit run out, and I've had some that I only put because I needed the length, I put the last, I kid you not, 1/4 inch on the muscle chuck, and it ran. I made sure to close the enclosure and put my safety glasses on, but it ran fine.
I want to answer Dave Clemens. He has another question. He says, thanks for explaining the UC100. So it plugs into the USB port on the PC, and the UC100 plugs into the parallel port on the controller box. Either that, or if you are using, see, I brought all kinds of toys in here tonight.
The UC400?
Well, no, I'm sticking to the UC100 because that's what I got on here. But if you have additional limit switches or an E-stop or something like that, if you're using one of the Xylotex boxes, especially the older ones, there's not really a lot of add-on capacity there. So this is one of the old style Breakout boards. So yes, back to your original question, if you're not running limit switches or anything else, you would plug this right into the parallel connection on your box. Or if you're using something like this, you would plug this, see if I can get it going the right way, like this, and then you would have another short parallel cable going from here to a Xylotex box. Or if you're not using a Xylotex box at all, and maybe you're using a Breakout board more like this one, then you would need to get this one would need a gender changer because this both has females on it. But in fact, this comes with a gender changer. I don't have one handy. But you would connect this to this Breakout board, and then all your connections would go from here to your drivers and limit switches and what have you. So
yep.
Michael Chipster says, I use one like the second one, like this, I guess is what. And Michael Chipster, since he's out there, I want to also point out that he put in the file section of the Gatton CNC Facebook group, he's got a drawing of his wiring diagram, and then he also has a picture in that thread, I think, of his setup. So, Dave, are you working on any new consumer products in the near future? Well, what would you like to see, Tim? I haven't. I'm not really as far as CNC. No. I'm doing some other thing. I'm always. I mean, you see all this stuff behind me here. I'm always coming up with stuff that everything I do pretty much happens by accident. Um, I started making these small hollow guitar bodies, and they're not full size guitar. They're more like for the 3 and 4 string cigar box guitar stuff. And I started making some of those, and when I shared some of those in the Facebook groups of the cigar box guitar groups that I'm in, that kind of got, as soon as you show something, people go, "Oh, can you make me one?" And next thing you know, you're making other stuff. So I haven't showed this, and I really hadn't planned on this, but this is what I made the other day. This is just a 3-string. I guess it's kind of like a cigar box guitar, only it's not. It's not, obviously not a cigar box, but this is hollow. And I start out with just this is a different style. Now let's see. Let me grab one of these. But I start out with just a regular old, this is like a 2x12, regular construction grade lumber. And then I mill them out to where I get this down to about an 1/8 inch to 3/16. And, make different so you can make different styles.
Todd wants to know if you're making the next 2.
This neck I did not. I was in a hurry to get this. I do make them, but this one here is one that I just purchased. Now I did have to cut the headstock. It comes with just a big paddle up here, so I did cut the headstock. But this is a maple neck with mahogany fretboard, and it was all pre-fretted. I did have to add the fret markers. It didn't have fret markers. But yeah, I was in a hurry to get this one done so that I could show that body. But you see I got a bunch of bodies stacked up back here. So that's something new I'm working on. That's not, it's kind of CNC stuff because I cut them on the CNC, but that's probably not what you were talking about. But did he ever answer if I asked what he'd like to see? I've got a ton of ideas for different things, but I never know whether you're welcome, Mark. The festival did it for me last year, or actually 2 years ago. But anyhow,
we got a few more questions out there. Rob says, I found the set of screens for Mach 3. I haven't tried them yet, but it adds onto the Mach 3 and will run external apps programs as well. Smart screens for Mach 3 from ngnies.com. Guess it's not a question, but it's nice information. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, I haven't looked lately because I've had my Mach 3 stuff. If you noticed when I had my Mach 3 screen up there, it said licensed to Sidewinder CNC. That's my old name that I used years ago. So I've had Mach 3 for a long, long time. But when you go to that Newfangled Solutions webpage where you get the Mach 3 and the Mach 4 and all that, they have several different screen sets. And I'm pretty sure Mark Lindsay uses, I think, Blue Text or something. I have always stuck to the default screen simply because, when I'm trying to show somebody new, I don't want to say, well, here's how it is on my screen, but on your screen, it's over here. I like to keep everything the same. That's why I've always kept the default screen set.
Dan Jones is asking if you could make a macro in Mach 3 to vacuum my table. Not to turn on a vacuum table, but to actually vacuum his table. I'm not sure how I can make that happen.
Well, if you've got a dust shoe, you could probably just turn on your dust collection and run the same program you use to surface the table, just don't put a big.
Yeah, I'm looking for.
That's kind of being lazy. You know, you can get it with a shop vac a whole lot quicker.
Yeah, I'm looking for the. I want to give you for your birthday, Dave, a new button on Mach 3 that'll sweep your shop.
Yeah, if you come up with one of those.
Jim Johnson's asking, what's the difference in the Xylotech BOB breakout board, Bob, and the one you held up? The Xylotech used a 5-volt voltage, and yours does not. Well, the Xylotech's breakout board is powered.
Let me read it. It's Jim Johnson.
Yeah.
What is the difference in the Xylotech, Bob, and the one you held up? Neither one of these are the Xylotechs. So I know with this one, and I have 3 of these because I have 3 different machines hooked up. I have 3 different UC 100s. But I know when you're using this one, you don't have to have any voltage going to it. Apparently, it gets the 5 volts from
the actual parallel. A true breakout board doesn't need the 5 volt.
Yeah. Now this other one, I think it has a place. Let's see if I can put on these old glasses and see. Yeah, right here, it's got a place for you to connect 5 volts, and a lot of people will just use like an old phone charger or something.
Oh yeah, that's basically to run the circuitry on there. The difference between the two is that the first one that Dave showed is a direct connection of the parallel lines, whereas this one is using, well, we'll just leave it as transistors, as relays, powered by the 5 volts as indirect connections to the lines.
Right.
So you don't damage this second one's a better board in the sense, I mean, I don't know about the quality, but it's a better design in the sense that if you're pulling too much power, if you pull too much power directly from the parallel port, you could burn out components in your computer or in your controller, whatever you have it connected to. Whereas this one, I mean, it won't allow that to happen.
Yeah, I use this is a spare one I had, but I've got, like I said, I got 3 of these. I have one on each machine, and it has. Well, all I use it for basically is because I needed to be able to get to these pins to run my homing switches and my touch plate. So anything else, you know, and like I said, it gets its power from the 5 volt USB, I guess, because I don't have to hook up any power to it. Mm-hmm. This other one, you do. So did that answer everybody's question? I think.
David is shopping around for some plug-and-play kits. Anybody have links or leads they can share that they've had plug-and-play
kits? Let me jump on that one again. As I mentioned at the top of the show, anytime somebody asks these questions, well, where can I get this? Where can I get that? I have a ton of information on that website. All you got to do is go look for it. I've got links. And you don't have to get the stuff that I recommend or put over there, but I've already done a lot of the research for people. I've been doing this for years. So that's why I put links and stuff on there. But right now, if I had to recommend a kit, and I know Xylotech has got, I think they've got just a board thing. He doesn't have any motors with it because he's having trouble getting motors. But I think right now my number one choice would be either the lead shine, or, which this is probably a little more economical, the Stepper Online drivers. They make a kit. I've got a link to it on the DaveGatton.com website. Um, in fact, I've got a link to a couple different ones, but there's a kit that is, I think it's around $330 from Stepper Online. It comes with 4 of these drivers, comes with 4 stepper motors that are comparable to the 425. I think the big difference is, if I remember correctly, the stepper motors do not have a 1/4-inch shaft. They have I want to say 8mm, or maybe it's 10mm. I can't remember. But anyway, you'd have to, if you're going to use dumpster CNC, which I also highly recommend for the couplers and Acme nuts. But if you're going to use those, when you order them, you just need to drop that down, because if you go order where it says Gatton kit on the dumpster thing, it will automatically by default give you the 1/4-inch shaft. But there is a drop down button there that you can drop it down and get the right coupler, the right bore to match whatever stepper motors you buy. So I'm not trying to get on you, Dave. He says, sorry, I'll go to the check. I just want to make sure people know that a lot of these questions they ask, the information is already out there. I think a lot of people buy they'll buy their kit, and then they just, okay, I got the kit, I got the plans, and they forget about going back there. But there's tons of links and information, videos that'll help you with this. Dave Matthews says 10mm. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was 8 or 10, but
yeah. Greg Euler says Stepper Online may be out of the U.S. stock.
Yeah. Well, I know when you first go to that website, it'll say for that kit, you click on that link and it'll say $269, but that's coming from China. So, if you're not in a big hurry.
Yeah.
But then they have places where like they have their US and UK and different places where you can click on it, and the prices vary depending on where you're at. So let's talk touch-off plates. All right. What do you want to know about touch-off? Oh, Javi, entertain him for a second. I'll go get
Sorry for the moment. Touch plates. In the meantime, let's see. What would you like to know about touch plates? It's a simple. For those of you who don't know what a touch plate is, it's basically either. It's a simple piece of aluminum. You could make a simple do-it-yourself touch plate. If you get a simple block of aluminum, drill a hole, tap it, put a screw, attach a wire to your controller or your breakout box, voila, you have a touch plate. It's that easy.
Okay, I found a couple of these, and I went ahead and bought them. I basically was getting one from my buddy Jim, because he doesn't use a touch plate, and I was over there helping him with something the other day, and I said, man, we got to get you up to 2019, get you a touch plate. So I found these. It's just I don't know how much wire's here. It's about 4 or 5 feet worth of wire, I think. And then it's got this little touch plate, which you would need to measure with calipers to adjust your script in Mach 3. Mm-hmm. And it's got the little alligator clip here. But I use on all of my machines, I use just nothing more than a scrap piece of aluminum angle. I drilled a hole in it and run a screw through it and tied the one lead to there. And then, the other one, I've just got another wire going to my breakout board. It has a alligator clip. It doesn't even have the little rubbery thing like this one does. It's just a bare alligator clip. And that's what I use. And it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be fancy. You just need to have it wired in and need to know whatever the thickness is. On mine, the angle is 1/8. So I measured it with calipers. It measured right at 125, which is
Yep.
kind of unusual.
In my case, my spindle is grounded. So there's the ground. There's one side of the connection, and all I need is the a simple wire with an like you, an aluminum piece. Mine happens to be milled exactly to 0.5 inches, so I know it's exactly half an inch from whatever surface, and I could. You have to put that figure into the script, as Dave said, and just it's permanently connected to the controller board on a nice heavy-duty coiled cable, so I just hang it up in my enclosure and it's ready to go.
Yeah, one thing, and Gary just mentioned it there, one thing you have to, and you'll figure it out real quick, is some things aren't grounded and some are. So when I use my touch plate or my little piece of angle out in my shop on my garage works, I have a 690 there, and as long as that 690 is plugged in, it's already grounded, so you don't need to put the alligator clip on there. But on everything else I use, on the other garage works that has a DeWalt 611 and on my spindle, I have to clip that alligator clip to either the bit on the spindle. I clip it to that bolt that's up on the mount.
Yep, I went through the trouble of in the clamp in the clamp on the Gatton CNC, since the machine is wood. Obviously, there's no conductivity there. In the actual clamp, I made sure to put a little tiny plate with attached to a wire, and that gets fed through my entire drag chain all the way back to the thing, so it's permanently grounded. The shield, the tank of the router or spindle is permanently grounded. So
now Keith is the one that said let's talk touch-off plates. Did you need me to show what the settings are in Mach 3? I can do the screen share and show that if you'd like. Mike Fulton in the house. How you doing, buddy? Mike, are you coming to Atlanta this year?
Keith definitely wants you to talk about the settings.
Yes, please. Okay. All right. So let me let's see if I still got that open.
And Mike is coming to Atlanta this year.
Okay, cool.
I'll see you there, Mike. I'll look up to you.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, you got to look up to Mike because he's a big dude. All right, let's do the screen share thing again. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I can remember where it is because it's not connected here, obviously, because I'm not at a machine. But right here is how I do my touch plate. Is I would enable this. The port would be 1, and then the pin number would be whatever pin number I have it connected to on the breakout board. And it would be, if you look right here, it says 10 through 13 and 15 are input. So it would be one of those, either 10, 11, 12, 13, or pin 15 on a breakout board. So one thing while I'm right here too, you notice how this e-stop is always enabled. And when you watch, or if you watch the video that I do, the one I was talking about, the Gatton Startup Part 1, I show that when you're setting up your machine profile and you clone the Mach 3 mill, by default, that's going to be turned on. And this will have, I think it has pin 10 or something like in there. So when you get done, and I'll put it in here to show you, you can't turn that off. So a lot of people will get stuck. They'll clone from that thing and they either don't know or don't watch my video or whatever, but they don't know how to get that turned off. And it's just a simple fix. You just come down here to ports and pins, come over to input signals, scroll down, and you can disable that, but I've had it where it comes back and puts it in there anyway. So I always set this to 0 and click apply.
And Kevin says Guru Brew has a script on YouTube for the actual script that you should run.
Yeah, well, I used his script, so I've got a link to his script in the video that I did on how to do a touch plate. So whether you look at my video or his, it doesn't matter. There's a link. And while we're at it, I'll show that script, I guess, too. Let's see. It's over here. Oh, that's not
Now,
it.
for those of you new to touch plates, the script is when you click a button called touch plate or whatever you want to call it.
I think it's not going to be. Yeah, I don't have it in here because I'm at my office, so I don't even have it in here. But anyway, the script would be here, and there's just one little spot where you have to change the thickness of whatever your touch plate is.
Basically, a script will run a series of commands that will lower your machine slowly. Lower your unit slowly and look for that touch off, and set the distance. Again, depending on do the calculations and reset your Z.
Okay, Patrick's got a question. He says, Dave, is the Mach 3 setup you're showing specific to the Xylotech setup, or does it work on the Breakout boards with the Gecko? A lot of it is going to be the same, regardless. You know, your X is going to be pins 2 and 3, your Y is going to be 4 and 5, your Z is going to be 6 and 7, and A, your A axis, or the one you slave, is going to be 8 and 9. The pins you use for the homing switches and an E-stop and touch off plate and all that, it's, you know, 10 through 13 and then 15, depending on which, you could set them up either way. You could set the X, Y, and Z up using pins 10, 11, and 12, an E-stop using 13, and then a touch plate using 15. Or you could mix it up. It doesn't matter as long as you know what they are and you put that number in the Mach 3. But as far as the pins and things, pins and ports for the main axis, your X, Y, Z, and A, they're pretty much going to be the same. Because, I mean, when you think about it, forget about Xylotech, but a Gatton CNC is pretty much just a generic thing. There's nothing proprietary about the way it's controlled. You know, I made it that way on purpose so that people can use whatever kind of stuff they want to use. If they want to go all out and buy, 1,200 ounce steppers or something and go crazy, they can. And if they want to use what I recommend, they can do that too. So, see, we got Mr. Sterling Davis in the house. Got all the big players out there tonight.
Right on time for the end of the show, Sterling.
Yeah. All right. I guess we're. I don't see any more questions. Yeah, Keith says Guru Brew has a script. Yeah, I would recommend that script. That's the one I use. It's already done. You just get it. And when I showed a while ago how to edit that script, you hit the auto tool change button and that little window pops up. So you just basically copy and paste it in there. And the only thing I changed was the thickness, because I think he has it, when you get it, I think it's set up for like 0.060. Like a real thin angle. So I changed that, and he even has like a 4-second dwell, which I leave that in there because depending on where, if you got a big table like I do, and depending on where you're setting your thing and where you're trying to touch off, I can hit that button and you don't have to run over there and make sure everything, you can just kind of throw it in the general location, hit the button, and you've got 4 seconds to think about it and get over there and get ready. 4 seconds is a long time, but I leave that dwell in there. You could take it out if you wanted, but I leave it in there. Scott Wilson had a good idea. What's he want? Scott, let's hear the guitar. It's just a 3-string thing. I don't know what it's going to sound like over this. Let me see if I can get it plugged up here.
Yeah, Tim is saying, Dave, send us off with a tune.
Oh, you're not going to hear me sing, that's for sure. Let's see if I got it turned up. That's it. Ain't much to it. I can tell you right now, I love building these things because they're so much fun to build them. But I'm really not much of a player. I know enough chords on a 6-string to be dangerous, and of course these are easy because this one's open G, so you can just bar chords and get a chord out of it. But I'm just, the good Lord decided I didn't need any musical ability apparently. So, but that does not stop me from building them. That's a lot of fun. And I love when, I don't know if you ever seen, I know most of y'all haven't but I did a video on the first 2 or 3 cigar box guitars that I built. And I don't even have them here because I gave them away. But I did a video on one, and I had a buddy of mine, Brian Cameron, who at the time was playing with a group called Reluctant Saints. And he plays now with John Barry. I don't know if y'all know John Barry, the country guy. But anyway, he come by. I worked with Brian trying to do some prototype guitar bodies and stuff like that. He was trying to design his own guitar. And so I was helping him with the design of that. And he come over here, and I had that cigar box sitting in the corner here, and he picked it up, started picking around a little bit. And next thing you know, of course, he knows how to play. Next thing you know, he was ripping off stuff, with that thing. So I turned my phone on and got a little video of him while he was playing around with it. And that's in that video that I did, but that was like 2012 or 13 or something. That was a long time ago. So, but yeah, it's fun when somebody, takes one of these things that you've built and can really play the fool out of it. But I'm not much of a player. I like picking around, but that's about it. All right. Need more cowbell. Yeah, that's funny. Let's see. Anything? I don't see any other questions. I guess we're done for the night.
Looks that way.
All right, wait. What does it say? Jeff says, be fine with the size I'm looking to build, but just in case I need to do larger, is it incredibly difficult? If you're talking, I'm assuming you're talking about a Gatton CNC. It's designed to be made either smaller or bigger or whatever, but up to a point. I get people all the time saying, well, can I do a 4x8? And I'm like, not unless you're an engineer or something, because you're going to have to
Yeah, it's
You
all
can
it's
do
all about
belts or
it's all
chain
about
or rack and
the
pinion or
maximum
something.
length depends on the lead screw. But I'll tell you, it is as easy as cutting a different size rectangle and doing some simple addition. It's that simple to make a different size. Everything else is the same.
Yeah, all the parts that you get from me when you buy a kit are the same, no matter how big you want to build it. Because I'm just building, doing the gantry parts and stuff like that. You're making the gantry cross members or whatever you want to call them, so you can make that as long or as short as you want to.
Yep.
Any other questions? Where does one get plans for one of those guitars? I would like to try one. Well, these, I don't know if you're just talking about cigar box guitars in general. There is a website called Cigar Box Nation, where they have all kinds of stuff on there. It's a big forum type thing. And there's a lot of information on there about how to build a cigar box guitar. There's a company called CB Giddy Crafter Supply, which sells all kinds of stuff. That's where pretty much everything but this body came from CB Giddy. This bridge, this Delta Bucker, humbucker they call it. It was all pre-wired, where all I had to do was use my CNC to cut out the pattern, drop this in, put the holes here, and then the jack, strap buttons and all came from them. And then, of course, like I said, this neck and even the tuners I got from them.
Yep. So
they're easy and fun to build. And you can go to a cigar box or go to a tobacco store and just go in and say, hey, you got empty cigar boxes you want to get rid of. Hopefully they won't charge you a whole lot. I think the ones around me have figured out that cigar box, the empty box is worse stuff, because I got where I quit going to look for them because they want to charge me like 10 or 15 bucks. And I'm like, dude, I don't mind paying $3, $4, $5 for one.
Jeff has asked, his question as far as the size is, in case he gets an oddball size that's larger than his machine. I think his question is basically on tiling a larger job than the machine is worth. Yeah, it's very simple to do.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't know he was talking about tiling. Okay.
Yeah, he just clarified. And yeah, Wayne brings up a good point. Check out Peter Posuelo's got a video on tiling. There's a lot of information out there how to make register marks, and so you follow along. I mean, so you can tile the piece, and you could use a 4x4 machine to do a 4x8 piece without a problem.
All right. I see somebody talking about, it says my Mach 3 machine just updated. I'm assuming you're talking about the operating system just updated. Because
Yes.
if you're running Windows 10 and there's a certain update that it does, and it got pretty much everybody. If you're running Mach 3, now all of a sudden every time you go to open Mach 3, it'll just flash and then go back off. It won't even open up. But there's a certain version they have fixed. The Mach 3 people have fixed it. And if you go to that website, you can either search for Mach 3 in Google or go to the Newfangled Solutions website where they sell Mach 3. And they have a version that you can get that fixed that screw up that Windows did. It got everybody. It got me and everything. Even here at my office, it didn't get my machines out in my shop because I'm not connected to the internet, which, we've had that discussion before. It's another good reason not to have it connected to the internet. But in here, I go to do Mach 3 and open it up just, because the only thing I use Mach 3 for here is to show people stuff over Hangouts and stuff.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work. So I had to go to the thing, get the new Mach 3, reinstall it, and then put my license code back in, and boom, it's fixed.
If you are planning on making a machine, making a new CNC machine or a new CNC, a whole system, it's worth buying a cheap computer and keep it off the internet. You don't really need to have it connected to anything. Use a dedicated, inexpensive computer. You don't need much. I mean, you could run it on XP if you like, and that's it. And you never have to worry about things like that. 3 or 4 of my machines have dedicated XP machines and Windows 7 machines, and they're never connected on the internet.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's still out there, but Michael Chipser, I'll give him a plug. You know, he's all the time getting different computers. He just got another big batch of laptops, and they're great for running these things. Again, my personal preference is to not put them on the internet, but you know, some people are going to do it anyway. But if you don't have them on the internet, there's never anything that can happen because it can't get to it. It's not connected. So I use the old thumb drive. I got one around here somewhere. In fact,
yeah, and I have on mine I have them all connected to the local intranet, but not outside.
Yeah,
there's no point.
What they call it, a LAN, local area network.
I got LAN and WAN, and both are separate, and I've got all the computers interconnected together, but none of them go out. So there's no chance of any issues or anything like that.
Yeah. Thank you, Becca, for the kind words. She says, I love listening to you, even though I've heard it all before. I know there's nothing new. You know, I've been doing this a long time, and there's really nothing. I haven't said anything new in years because it's all just repeating the same stuff for a new bunch of folks. So I hope the ones that have you know had their machines going for 2 or 3 years, or in some cases longer than that, you don't get tired of. Michael Chipser said he still got, or he thinks he has 10 laptops on hand. Yeah. Be sure. Okay, Jeff, be sure to ask questions anytime you need. Yeah. I think can't remember exactly. I think I've got links to the Dave Gatton Community Forum in the show description. As far as the Facebook groups, all you got, I mean, you can't miss it. You also have
the links to the Facebook group there as well.
Okay.
DaveGatton.com, GarageWorks.com, CNC and UC devices.
Let me, since Becca Miller's out there, I hadn't talked to her in a while. Becca, we talked before about how that Gatton World of CNC map thing was going to be shutting off or whatever because they were going to start charging just ridiculous amount, because I guess we're just too popular, you know, so many of us now. But I hadn't talked to Becca. I don't know if she was able to find anything else, or if, like I said, worst case, I'm getting a tickle in my throat here. Worst case, I will go through all my records, and good God, there's a ton of them now, and pick, you know, make another list of, you know, first name, last initial, and their city and town, or town and state, so that people can look to see if there's somebody that has one near them. I mean, it shouldn't be too hard to find one fairly close now, unless you're in like Montana or Wyoming or someplace like that. I don't think I've sold many out there, but pretty much every other state, bunch of them in Canada. And I'm talking mostly about Gattons now. The Garage Works, there's not any of those in Canada well, there might be 1 or 2 people that paid to have me ship it to UPS store, and then they picked it up and carried it across. But Okay, Becca says we had several thousand views, blew their minds. Yeah, it was a cool thing. And you know what kills me is I guarantee you that's not half the people that could be on that list.
Oh, absolutely not.
That was just because I kind of started a list a long time ago, and I know it's way outdated. And then Becca took off running with it, and then she'd have people say, "Well, if you want to get on the map, you know, send me your information." And it kind of grew from there. But still, it's not near the folks that could be on that list.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope all you folks out there, Harry Tasker says he's still running a shoestring from 2014. Yeah, that's there's a lot of them still out there running, and no reason why they shouldn't be. You know, a lot of folks have built a Gatton and still have their shoestring and a Gatton running. Anyway, I appreciate we've had a good crowd tonight. We've got 80 something folks watching now. We've got a bunch of thumbs up over there. I appreciate that, y'all. Always appreciate y'all tuning in. I know it's a Saturday night and you probably got better things to do than watch me, but I appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully, like I say, we'll keep going over some of this same stuff. I know it's repetitive for me and Hobby and a lot of other folks, but there's always new folks that haven't got to that point yet. So we'll just keep
happy to help.
Trying to help. Like I said, man, I can't get this tickle to go away. I'm going to try, and don't hold me to it, folks, but I want to try. I know there's been a lot of discussion on Facebook and stuff. People asking about wiring diagrams and stuff. I mentioned earlier that Michael Chipser's got his uploaded to the file section. Larry Gaunt, I think I saw him in there earlier. I don't know if he's still out there. He had posted a file that was a drawing, and I showed it the other week. I think that it's actually done by Robert Adams. I want to make sure I credit him because he did the drawing. But he had a good white. In fact, his is probably one of the best I've seen. But he shows every little, he color codes the wires and shows where they go to the driver. He was using not this particular driver, but one similar. The power fan, the power supply, the breakout board, he shows everything. So I would like to, and I don't know, like I said, it's going to take a while to do it. So don't expect it next week because it may not happen. But I would actually like to do a 3D model of a whole setup where not only would there be a wiring diagram on paper that you could print out, but for some people who are kind of like me that get it better when they actually see it, where you'd actually have a 3D model, you could pull it up, put it in a viewer, spin it around and zoom in and stuff, and it would show the drivers, in the different connections and all this kind of stuff. And you'd be able to see just like this. If you look right here, right here's the dip switches. Well, this one is set up for 6400.
Mm-hmm.
But you can set it up a bunch of different ways. But all kinds of stuff like that.
Yep.
It's not hard. You guys have heard me say this a million times. This is not rocket science. If a dumb old country boy like me can do it, anybody can. I'm not an electrician or electronic guru at all. That was my weak spot. One reason why I'd always recommended the Xylotex, because it was a plug and play kit, and I'm thinking, this is great because now people just like me, if they know how to build, and know how to put together a machine, when they get to that scary part, you know, the electronics and the stepper motor and all that, it's a no-brainer because it was all color coded.
Got a thank you from Dave Clemens there.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Yeah, you know, it was all color coded, super easy, and now that's kind of gone away. And I you know, I've known Jeff a long time. I say I've known him. I've never really met him, but just through emails, and bought a hell of a lot of stuff from him. You know, I think it's just a matter of time before he finds a supplier for the stepper motors. It's just a glitch in his inventory or his, you know, whatever you want to call it. But he, you know, and there's no reason why, because I think he's got, I'll have to go take a look at it on their website, but I think he's got everything kind of like what he had before, except for stepper motors. And I believe it was like 185 bucks. So you could still buy that and then go to Stepper Online or somewhere and buy the stepper motors. And you basically got the same thing. Is Peter Pasuelo still out there?
Let me see.
He was out there earlier, but I know it's Sunday afternoon in New Zealand, so
yeah,
I'll catch him if he's not out there.
Yep. Yeah, I've been meaning to. I've got most of the pieces taken care of, but I didn't want to say anything because I'm doing a CNC demystified video, which it'll go through the mechanical part and the electronics parts of the controller to basically explain everything all the way down to how stepper motors work and differences in drive tracks and things like that for the basic layman.
Yeah. All right. I saw a comment earlier, but now I don't see it. It must have already scrolled up. Cheapest website for a non-water cooled spindle. I would buy it from Amazon simply because all that stuff comes from China. So if you bought it from someplace else, you might not have any buyer protection if something goes wrong. I've heard some horror stories of people buying stuff and it taking months to get. And
in fact, you got a bad unit. Some out of all the ones you bought, one of yours came bad, and they did a great job exchanging it.
I'm not going to mention that company, but right. Yeah, I bought a set, bought it through Amazon, but still, it was a 4-axis thing, and out of the drivers, it was a 4-axis thing, so I got 4 drivers, and 2 of them were bad when I got it. So one of them wouldn't come on at all, and another one would light up, but did not work properly no matter what you set the setting for. It always ran about half as much as the other one of the good ones, so as far as positioning. So I could kick myself for. And that's why I keep saying, folks, you know, sometimes when you see cheap, the price, cheap ain't always a bargain. Which brings me to another thing. Oh, God, we're running long as heck now, aren't we?
Going on 2 hours.
Ooh, dang. All right, another thing I want to mention, and I put a post in the Gatton CNC Facebook group. Somebody posted they bought one of those knockoff eBay fake UC 100s, and they even call it a UC 100, but it's not a UC 100. It's got a metal case. It's a knockoff, and he posted a link to it in the Facebook group, and then he's talking about how he had nothing but trouble with it, and I deleted that link, and I put a comment in there that anybody that posts a link in the group, you know, don't post the link if it's junk. is what I'm saying. If you want to take a screenshot and post a picture of it and say, I bought this and it's a piece of crap, it doesn't work, that's fine. But don't post a link too, because then somebody's going to go off and buy the damn thing. So anybody that posts a link for stuff that I know is crap will be deleted. That's all I can do. I try to keep people from buying the wrong thing. Me and I know Mark Lindsay has talked till we're blue in the face, telling people there's a reason why it's half price on eBay. It's because it doesn't work. It's a knockoff. And don't buy them. They're junk. Buy the real deal. It's a UC 100. You buy it from, when you go to Amazon, it'll say sold by, and it should say CNC 4, the number 4 PC. They're a legit company that sells these. So, or if you don't want to buy them off of Amazon, just Google UC 100 and go to the website that sells the UC CNC software and buy one from them. That way you know you're getting the legit thing. I just hate to see people that think they're getting a deal, and then they, oh, it's only half as much. That's $50. The other one's $100 and something bucks, and they get it, and then it don't work. Well, then you got to turn around and buy the real one anyway. So, for God's sakes, don't post the damn link if it's junk. We don't need to share that stuff. So, all right, that's my rant for the night. I guess we're going to get out of here. Thank you all so much, man. A bunch of you done stuck around, and we're going on 10 hours, but we try to answer the questions. I don't see any more. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Larry, I think that might be part of the problem why Jeff is having trouble getting stepper motors, because they close up like that Chinese New Year stuff. That's serious stuff over there. So that might have been a problem. Maybe he got low on stock or suddenly sold out and thought he could get some more quick, and then I don't know. But anyway, all right. Thanks, Javi, for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me, Dave, as always.
I guess we'll see y'all next week. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up on the way out or the thumbs down, whichever you want to. Doesn't make a difference to me. It's all the same. It's all good. So anyway, good night, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Good night, everyone.